your skin, that shit is popping, girl. Body on 10, damn, you got it, girl. You gotta boss up. Getting them checks, living your best. Racks up. Oh, keep walking with confidence. Effortlessly, you let them know who is in command. You just that and more. Don't forget it. God worked hard on you for sure. Lexus, Exodus. Shout out to my exes.
Class is in session every weekend with Sunday School with Lex. Connect with like-minded Black women every Sunday at 6 on the Lex's Exodus platform, where we have live panels and call-in shows in order to connect and share our stories, discuss divestment and other important topics pertaining to the plights of Black women, discuss self-empowerment and self-improvement, and much, much more. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. ET at patreon.com/LexisExodus. See you soon.
Hey, boos, hey. It is Lexis Exodus, leader of the Black Women Exodus. How are y'all doing? And like always, if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. Please share. Please comment in the comment section. Let me know that you're listening. Also, if you enjoy listening to my content on the go, the show is now available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for audio listeners. Go check out my Patreon community where you can get access to bonus episodes and exclusive content, and also a private community of like-minded divested women. It is linked below. Please also follow me on social media platforms. You can check me out everywhere on all platforms at Lexis Exodus. I also have a backup channel just in case something happens to this one. It is called LexX. That's LEXEX. You can find all of this information in the description below.
This is another installment of my series called The Blackistan Zoo, where we profile the dusty derelicts, crazy creatures, and animals of Blackistan. Child, y'all done been blowing up my inbox, asking me to talk about Freaknik, y'all. Child, so let's go ahead and do it. So shout out to loyal patron Indigo Savage, who is in the private group, who also suggested that I cover this. This also was suggested by loyal patron Philosophy and Letters as well. Hey, boo, I miss you so much. I hope you're doing well. Unless you're living under a rock, you've heard about Hulu's upcoming documentary covering the Freaknik, which was a nasty-ass nigga festival in Atlanta years ago, back in the 90s. It was pretty much a fest. It was pretty much a freak fest where no holds were barred. It was supposed to be a Black college festival for students who attended HBCUs, but it turned out to be a big old orgy, child. Y'all. And so when the trailers came out, in true Blackistan fashion, folks started pointing fingers at Black women for the Freaknik's downfall. And that's because Blackistan hates Black women. And we know that it loves to display misogynoir. So everybody suddenly started slut-shaming and ridiculing and scapegoating Black women for displaying their sexuality back then. When in all actuality, the event's downfall was really due to Dusty's predatory and violent behavior. Okay? So we're going to talk about how Black women are always made the scapegoat. If you're unfamiliar with what Freaknik is, let's watch this and then we will talk through.
You've been to Daytona. You've been to Fort Lauderdale. You've been to Panama City. You've been to Cancun. You've been to Montego Bay. But when you take away the sand, when you take away the water, and you put all those people on the blacktop, in the Black Mecca, you get the Black College Spring Break. Welcome to Atlanta, Hot 97.5, the station where hip-hop lives. It's Freaknik!
Now, if y'all didn't forget how y'all parents met, let me give you a brief history of what's going on with Hulu and Freaknik. And as you guys already know, Freaknik was an annual spring break festival in Atlanta, Georgia. It was primarily attended by students from historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCUs, and it began roughly around 1983, and it all started from one small picnic. Now, according to Twitter, according to Hulu, they're actually bringing back a docuseries called Freaknik, The Wildest Party Ever Told. It is going to be documenting the iconic beginning and the demise and how it actually ended. So I know that a lot of people are going to be super excited. I'm super excited to see it because although I was born in the 80s, I had no concept of Freaknik until like well into the 2000s. So y'all going to be watching? I definitely am.
Okay, so again, after news came out about this documentary being released on Hulu, it was like a visceral knee-jerk reaction where everybody started making fun of Black women, both men and women, laughing about our aunties being hoes back in the day and not knowing how to properly present themselves and being lewd, crude, and nasty. So let's watch this that illustrates what I'm referring to.
Y'all, I don't know. We might be in trouble. Did y'all see Hulu is about to release a documentary about 94 Freaknik? Yes. 1994 Freaknik. Yes. They are about to release a documentary. So, I'm just, now I've been to several Freakniks. 94 was one that I attended. So I'm just praying that Jesus be a fence. I'm praying that Jesus just be a big, tall privacy fence. That's my prayer. This Easter, this Good Friday. That's my prayer. So, I will say this though. Like when they would bring out those video cameras and start recording, I immediately removed myself from the that situation. I never ever was okay with being recorded out there. So hopefully that worked to my benefit, but you never know. So the only thing I got is, if you see your girl in the documentary, hey man, at least I'm fully clothed. At least all my clothes is on. That's all I got. That's the best I got. But yeah, y'all, they about to put our business out in the street. Some of us might be on TV. So get your parental controls together. And I don't know, y'all. I don't know.
Maybe so the aunties is nervous.
Y'all.
I was there. Fuck it, let it come out.
Freaknik. 05, either 05, 04, 06, any other Freakniks. Was you at any other Freaknik?
What the heck is a Freaknik?
Oh, you don't know what it is now.
What is it?
It was the biggest freak nasty shit ever going on at that time, in the point in time when girls busted wide open.
What are you talking about?
Oh, you show? Because it looked like he looked convincing to me. It looked like he about to lie.
Lie about what?
Did you ever go? Did Ronnie go to Freaknik?
What the hell is a Freaknik?
Did anybody in your family go to the Freaknik?
Where's it at?
Nah, she don't know nothing about the Freaknik, so that means I'm safe. That means that I don't have to worry about her being exposed, busting it wide open at the Freaknik.
What?
See, she don't know nothing about it. So that concludes our test for today.
Mama, in that movie, you gon' cry like in Atlanta, shaking booty while your mama watch the kids on the roof of a SUV with your auntie, drinking liquor out of bottle on Ponce de Leon Street. BET, know they bogus, breaking up a happy home. If your daddy watch it too, in the morning he'll be gone. He like, Sandra, if I only knew that you did the do, I would never had been their dad nor married you. It's a bunch of women nervous cause they know what they did. They used to get lit, but now they got kids. Who knew that new would end up on Hulu, getting felt on by two dudes in the front of a HBCU? Freaknik, mamas and aunts. Freaknik, drinking liquor, smoking blunts. I'll go ahead.
Okay. So this was the initial reaction. Like I said, people shaming Black women, people making fun and trying to humiliate and embarrass Black women, Gen X Black women saying that they're a bit nervous due to this, so much so that they're going viral, making videos indicating that they did get a little wild back then and admitting it and saying, don't judge them. Everybody's been young before. That first woman that was featured, she actually made it to TMZ. So child, this has gotten national exposure and national coverage And Black women are clamoring to cover their asses, being shamed for being in this documentary and attending this festival. And they're also being blamed for the downfall of this festival, when in all actuality, the event was canceled due to Whack men becoming animalistic, predatory, and violent, child. So they were terrorizing the city of Atlanta. So Freaknik was forced to shut down. Okay. So instead of making Black women the scapegoat here, Whack males should be embarrassed for their predatory, violent, and abusive behavior. And trigger warning, this does include some content that may be triggering to some, so tread lightly. Let's do it.
So you mean to tell me that Freaknik got canceled because the women were being graped and essayed? And y'all worried about how the women are going to be perceived? What? Baby, y'all worried about the wrong thing. Some of our uncles and fathers is about to be exposed, and I'm here for every minute of it. I hope they show faces. Don't blur out nobody's face. I want names, faces, and location. Y'all worried about how Black women are going to be portrayed. Baby, that Hulu documentary about to have Black men looking like some straight deviants. It's not going to be a good look. It's going to be a sad day on Twitter. Watch. The only thing that Black women should be concerned about is how some of their baby fathers is about to be exposed. Because a lot of y'all probably had kids with these men knowing what type of time they was on anyway, and that is the problem.
Freaknik was unwieldy. You know, you couldn't really contain it. You know what I mean? And so once it got to that point where it was infringing on everybody regardless, I mean, that in a lot of ways that made it bigger. You know, that made it more popular. You know, kids were like, man, you gotta make Freaknik. You know, it just became one of those must-attend events.
It got too big. It got dangerous. I mean, it went from what it started was with colleges, and when it got to the hood, it became more and more dangerous. More cases, more robberies, more stuff like that. Just became dangerous. It was like a bubble that was just waiting to burst, and it burst.
And when it was starting to fall, and it started actually girls who was getting on top of the cars, getting naked and stuff, they would snatch them off the cars and they would start. So that really stopped it. Just too much crime started happening.
I mean, I enjoyed it from the perspective of college kids coming from different parts of the country, all coming here promoting, you know, networking and whatnot. But I think to a certain degree, it really had gotten out of order when it came to the way that, you know, these guys you just could run up to an innocent woman and do the things that they would do to them, you know. I don't have a cape, top hat and cane. I ain't but a big old bank of money. But you know, right is right and wrong is wrong. You know, you got to have a little more respect for the ladies. And what if you run up on somebody's woman just because she dressed hot? You know what I'm saying? And this is married man, woman. You grabbing the titties, grabbing the weave and pulling off a wig. You know, can cause some problems. And it just really got out of order.
You got all these.
Okay, so what we just watched is a clip of people interviewing about how degenerate and how out of control and wild this event had gotten. And we even see a clip of them snatching women out of cars, harming women physically and sexually. This does not surprise me at all. And you have to think about the amount of degeneracy that happens under normal circumstances. So we heard of niggas messing with children in daycares, the dusty teachers messing with students at school, even whack male pastors preying on members at church. And those are supposed to be safe spaces where everyone's sober, everyone's in their right mind. We're talking about people worshiping in a church. You know, they're supposed to be saved and sanctified, for God's sake. Children are innocent. They're going to school to go to daycare and to learn. And if the niggas are being predatory in environments like that, of course, they were acting a plumb dumb fool at the Freaknik. You know, you combine alcohol, drugs, eggs, and Nogs, and this kind of carefree type of culture. This is what will happen. But everybody worried about what Black women were doing back then, when by all accounts, it was niggas acting a fool that caused this event to end. Thirsty and ravenous and being predators like this. This dude said they started to snatch people up randomly out their cars and graping them. That's what was happening back then. Okay, I want to watch this news clip that explains how dusties terrorized Atlanta and how they were violent and predatory during this time as well.
The name Freaknik brings to mind traffic jams and college students for most Metro Atlantans, but there is a much uglier side of this annual April event, a side not often talked about, but caught on tape by our cameras. We begin our Team 2 coverage with Mark Winnie.
Well, Don, a key question here: has Freaknik come to foster an atmosphere where people, especially women, are victimized? And we were not successful in our attempts to get either Atlanta's mayor or police chief to watch some of what is in this report for on-camera comment. But one DeKalb County official has come out strongly about what happened on his turf. Imagine if you were in that minivan, virtually surrounded, the roof crushing overhead. Imagine if you were in this truck, rocking violently side to side, and you had to face the choice to do this. Images caught on camera during Freaknik weekend. Imagine if you were a young woman caught this day in a parking lot near South DeKalb Mall, pursued through a public parking lot. We do not know their identity, so we cannot tell you their feelings at this moment, how trapped they may or may not have felt. But for all they endured, it appears their flight from the crowd may not have been as rough as what another woman nearby encountered. Try to follow the struggling figure through the crowd. Try to imagine her feelings. Again, all we know about the incident is what we can see. But at least one official apparently didn't like what he saw.
It's clear that she's fighting back. It's clear that she's being assaulted.
We showed our tape of what we witnessed around South DeKalb Mall.
There was a offense by that young man with the white sleeveless t-shirt. He needs to be in jail.
To DeKalb County Public Safety Director Thomas Brown.
Amazing. There were an awful lot of women out there that were innocent victims to a group of men acting like a pack of wolves. I'm very disappointed, not only as a man, but as a black man, in terms of watching my young brothers act this way and treat young sisters this way.
Brown helped us identify 2 bicycle patrol officers in yellow shirts on the scene, and it looked to us like at least 2 other officers were in the area.
I would have loved to have had 25 officers in that parking lot.
But DeKalb was still coping with police manpower needs in the part of the county ravaged earlier in the month by tornado and storm damage. Even still, Brown acknowledges in the past most manpower has gone to keeping traffic moving. But he says Freaknik has changed, and so will police tactics.
We're at a point now that we're going to have to be much more confrontational than what we've been in the past. It's a public safety issue now. It's not a young kids blowing off steam just before final exams. These kids here, 98% of them, I doubt very seriously that they're in college or any kind of trade school.
Shift scenes to Midtown Atlanta. We certainly don't suggest all, or even most, of the problems are in DeKalb. And beyond the video, consider the voices of the victims. You're about to hear from 3 women who, by their accounts, were pulled from a car on the way to a restaurant, and in this woman's case, simply trying to leave work.
Imagine 100 guys on top of you and you don't know why, screaming and taking off our shirt, and they just had us pinned up in this corner.
And my other sister, you know, she was fighting, and one guy hit her in the head with a bottle, and it cut her head like right here, and I looked up and I saw her and I started crying.
And they dragged me on the ground and just start ripping on my clothing. Just start ripping.
And we plan to have their stories tomorrow, stories that may prompt some viewers to ask, could that happen to my daughter, my sister, to me?
Action News at 6.
They're just like piranhas. You know, when one smell blood or something for food, then all of a sudden all of them come and attack and join in.
Women talk about becoming victims during Freaknik. We've got the pictures and their personal accounts of the attacks. And that is our top story on Channel 2 Action News at 6. Good evening. I'm Monica Kaufman.
And I'm John Pruitt. A Team 2 investigation uncovers shocking stories of attacks on women by crowds of men during this year's Freaknik celebration. One woman getting off work reports getting shoved through a plate glass window, another nearly being raped. And there is more. We begin with Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie, who has spoken to the victims. Mark.
Well, John, the story of any one of these women would be compelling by itself, but you are about to hear about 3 incidents in Atlanta during Freaknik weekend, incidents that may cause some to question why is this happening.
I was probably 2, maybe even barely 1 second away from getting big time.
I looked down and I don't have a sweater on anymore. My sunglasses was ripped off my head. Diamond ring missing.
The only thing we could do is just fight to try to get away, but we couldn't. There was just so many of them.
We saw this scene in Midtown Atlanta near the Fox. What looks like a parking lot pursuit in South DeKalb. And the rocking truck whose driver takes action. But however vivid the video images captured by our helicopter camera during Freaknik weekend, the words of women we found through police reports paint pictures of their own.
Walking from work, trying to take an arsenal route, and you're still being attacked.
Tracy Malone, a beautician, described having just left work downtown.
We got out the car and we closed the door and then bam, it happened.
Jessica Latimer described trying to get out of the car and walk to a McDonald's to eat.
We kind of wanted to just see what was going on.
Student Stacy Lloyd describes going out with a roommate after getting off a restaurant job. Remember all that Freaknik traffic? She suggests traffic was part of a series of events that led to finding herself someplace she hadn't set out to be and in trouble.
Some guy jumps into the driver's seat of the car. So we start fighting in the car. I'm going like this and drilling him in the chest and in the face with my feet. And so someone opens up the passenger door and pulls me out of the car, and they drag me on the ground. They ripped my skirt, my underwear was ripped.
One of my sisters, she had guys reaching up under her dress, you know, trying to feel and everything. I had my dress ripped off. And my roommate, she had her chest fondled with and everything. And then my other sister, you know, she was fighting, and one guy hit her in the head with a bottle.
I started screaming like, help, help. At this time, they just started attacking us, you know, tearing off my sweater. My friend got behind me because she's smaller than me. So by this point in time, they done pushed us to over here. It seemed like the crowd was getting bigger and bigger. Just full of guys over here thinking a freak show going on, and it's not. I mean, I have bruises in my skin from the marks where the guys...
Right there, that's from what happened.
Right. And the door was locked. The force of the crowd was so that they pushed us through this door. It broke the glass door.
We were so nervous and scared that we couldn't crank up the car. And so the policemen came. Everybody, when they heard the siren, everybody just like scattered.
The only thing that saved me from getting was a man yelled out police. Heaven sent. I assume.
It was this one guy, and wherever he may be at, may God bless you, because I mean, he was like, you know, it was just him, and the guy was just trying to like get him and throw him out the way. He was still in between me and my girlfriends. It was like, you know, y'all calm down. You know, they ain't like that. They ain't like that. Go on somewhere else. And it was like, he must have been an angel.
Now, for all his efforts, Ms. Malone says the man who tried to help her was not able to stop the crowd from forcing the women through the door. She says 2 arrests were made. Student Stacy says that the man who yelled police wasn't a real officer. We've been trying to get a comment from Atlanta Police Chief Beverly Harvard about our Freaknik disclosures, and just a short while ago, I was given this statement, quote, I have publicly expressed concern and outrage about the lewd behavior of some black college spring break participants every year since becoming Atlanta's chief of police. I am pleased to finally see others come forth and express their concern. It's Mark Winnie. John?
Mark, thank you. Our Team 2 coverage of Freaknik Caught on Tape continues later at 6. The event is attracting anything but college students. What is the future of Freaknik? Does it even have a future? We'll take a look at that when Team 2 coverage continues later in this newscast.
So this is absolutely disgusting. So this is what really was happening. So we're talking about hundreds of dusties, hundreds, swarming women, attacking these women and harming them, acting thirsty and animalistic. Like Dude said, acting like a pack of wolves. So while Blackistan is shaming and scapegoating Black women for doing what they wanted and dressing like they wanted and behaving as normal, actual, autonomous adults, they're blaming Black women and trying to shame and embarrass Black women for their behavior. They're out in droves, outnumbering and attacking these women by hundreds. And we'll look at more clips and you'll continue to see what I'm talking about. But every single clip, you'll see a theme as well. The dusties outnumber the women like 50-1. And in all of them, they are all being perverted. They are all acting violent, predatory, erratically, and animalistically. We see clips of them attempting to strip and SA these women. And some women were simply leaving work. Others were trying to go to McDonald's to get a cheeseburger, and this is what was happening to them. This lady said the only thing that saved her was a random man yelling out police. But it's Black women that should be ashamed and embarrassed of their behavior back then, right? Even though Black women didn't victimize anyone, they were simply minding their business, doing what they wanted as grown women. Meanwhile, they were getting brutally harmed and victimized, but they're the ones who need to be shamed and should be ashamed of their behavior. And my thing is, like, I know how terrified and frightened I get around one dusty alone if I'm walking down the street. Could you imagine swarms of them surrounding you in this manner? Like mobs of males who are bigger and stronger, gang assaulting and gang raping these poor women. And I knew this got canceled because they were too rowdy, but I had no idea it was this bad. Okay, let's look at this next clip that depicts a woman getting mauled by a group of 50 dusties.
They started out, there's a great walk around in downtown Peachtree. There was a couple of girls to the right of us, then they was dancing on top of a car. So they was dancing and guys was grabbing them a little bit, but they couldn't reach them. So then we just was chilling, watching them dancing. So then we turned around and this other girl was dancing with some other guy, some guy that was in the crowd. One girl, she had an all-white dress on, and they had her on stage. She got up there, she just danced a little bit. By the time we turned around, it just got ugly. We just saw this girl getting her clothes just ripped off. She was getting mauled. It was like a swarm of bees just attacking her all at one time. There's 50 guys and one female. She had scratches all over her, like her shoulder, her back. A lot of the guys was just grabbing her, trying to get their fill. A lot of people had the camcorders. They wanted to see her just be totally nude. And then the cops came over and helped her out, but the whole situation, everybody was just standing there watching. It really changed my focus. It changed the way I approach females, because before we was like, hey, yo, hey girl, let me talk to you real quick, screaming and like, come over here, let me talk to you, cutie, or whatever. Now I was like, excuse me, may I talk to you? You can put your window down. I'm not gonna try anything. I'm not, I try to make it seem like more calm and more respectful for the female.
You said you just wanted to see some in the head, but it was done the wrong way. All right, you wanted to see a black sister.
We had that girl. We had that girl. She had her nipple pierced, and she let us see it.
My bad.
She let us.
We locked her in. That's why.
Not no. That's not ripping her shirt off. But you were saying, I wanted to see that.
I saw what I wanted to see. Some hair right here.
That's the wrong way.
I saw what I wanted to see.
I mean, Harvey.
Maybe I didn't see that, but I saw what I wanted to see.
Women down here that dress like
and with the short stuff and all that, you know, I feel like they don't have any respect for themselves. They want that attention. They like that negative attention, and that is not cool. I'm sorry. If you got a mind, you got a brain, you're intelligent, you need to act that way and dress that way. Ain't nothing wrong with having a little fun, coming down the Freaknik and all that stuff, but you ain't got to be acting out with your clothes, showing your butt and all that stuff. That's not cool.
But yo, at the Freaknik, they ripping their clothes off. I don't think that's, you should do that to a sister. Most of those, I'm saying
That's the thing about it is like, y'all saw what I had on when y'all first met me.
Yeah.
I had on little shorts,
Yeah, that's
but that didn't mean I was less intelligent.
Yeah.
That didn't mean I was asking you grab my...
So this is disgusting. So this guy said there were 50 guys on one woman, and we watched it caught live and in color. She had scratches and bruises all over her. No one did anything. They just watched this woman get harmed and assaulted. And then we see these group of dudes try to justify their poor behavior, talking about they didn't grape anyone. They just surrounded the woman because she had a nipple ring. Do you see this degeneracy that I'm talking about? But Black women should be embarrassed. Meanwhile, they're acting like a bunch of thirsty, wild, predatory animals. And here's the crazy part. As much as Black women are being made the scapegoat now, you can only imagine how it was back then. We saw even that Black women saying, well, you should dress better. You should carry yourself differently. Child, listen. Just victim blaming, victim shaming. And this was back then before we learned about grape culture and before we learned that that was a bad thing and before cancel culture was a thing and before the Me Too movement existed. I'm a millennial, you guys know, and I remember just how bad it was. And I was just a kid. But I remember vividly being touched and slapped and grabbed and chased at school as a child in middle school. In the early 2000s, this happened. So you can only imagine how much Black women were preyed upon at an event like this and was told it was their fault back then. Let's watch this next clip that illustrates this.
Now, I would not grab your body, but there are people that will. They will, right. So you should dress appropriately. So
I was in that statement because, you know, that's just me. I had a little shirt on, I had a little shorts on, I got it, I can flown it.
the party atmosphere is just kind of like being at a ball game. Once everything gets going and you're walking around naked and you get grabbed, don't come crying at the end and say, oh, well, I didn't know I was going to get Oh, I didn't know I was going to get fumbled. You can't say that because the sister's walking around down here showing a lot of her body that she is asking to be. That is just her saying that she is showing her body. She is a beautiful Black woman who is taking pride in herself. She has it, so she can show it.
The bottom line is when...
Y'all hear this nigga logic? It don't make no damn sense. So they're trying to rationalize these dudes acting like depraved, perverted animals. These dudes were acting like dogs in heat, like a pack of wolves, the officer said, saying that they deserved being attacked due to how they were dressing. Child, this is disgusting, but it's nothing new, unfortunately. We see both the whack men and the women deflecting and denying in this clip, talking about it's the women's fault that they were raped and that they were harmed, saying that they need to dress differently and cover up and carry yourself with more decorum. No one's saying, no, Nick Dog, stop being so thirsty. How about you keep your hands to yourself? How about you keep your dick in your pants? Unless a woman explicitly says that she wants that. How about you act like a goddamn human being instead of an animal? No one's saying that in this clip. And it's so bad that even now, decades later, it's been about 30 years, y'all, and we are still having these same conversations where we've seen live and in color that Black women were being harmed. They were being viciously attacked to the point where mobs of men were ganging up on these women. Still, the knee-jerk reaction is for Blackistan to shame, shift blame, and ridicule and embarrass Black women. Child, I can't. So what are y'all's thoughts about this documentary and about people's reactions to it? Do you think the women share some blame and should be ashamed of this behavior and for being in these kinds of dangerous environments? Or should the men solely be embarrassed and ashamed for not controlling their behavior? What do you think about our aunties and mamas possibly being depicted in this docuseries? I even saw that a group of professional women in Atlanta are filing a lawsuit to try to stop this docuseries. What do you think about that? Will you be tuning in? Let me know down below. Until next time, see you guys. Bye.
Even if you think I should, bitch, nigga, I don't give.
If y'all come across a red iPhone, can you please bring it to the sound stage? Red iPhone, appreciate it.